What's the difference between that and foreign-owned mining companies coming in, extracting all this stuff, exporting it and taking most of the money?
Well, the biggest mining operation in New Zealand is controlled by the state. It's Solid Energy. If you then look at the picture that I've looked at, which is the companies that are foreign-owned, large amounts of that money that they generate stays in New Zealand, inside the New Zealand economy. And I don't want to quote a figure, so I don't want to be shown as wrong, but it is substantial. The other thing, of course, is that we've got, and if there are opportunities, you've got Pike River that's floated on the New Zealand Stock Exchange at the moment. Anyone can buy into that. You're going to have another opportunity, I suspect, before the end of the year. So New Zealanders will have those opportunities to buy into those companies. The idea that it's the foreign multinational that's coming in here, doing a naru on us, I think is completely false.
You're very highly ranked in the cabinet, number 3 from memory. You're at that senior leadership level. What's New Zealand's long-term strategy for dealing with the Chinese century?
Yeah, well, I think there's a huge opportunity there, but also a little bit of risk around the edges, and it's similar to the sort of, do you get a big oil find that disrupts you? China is now our second biggest trading partner. My efforts in the Economic Development Ministry are focused on trying to get New Zealand product into the top end of that market. It seems a pretty simple conclusion that as the Chinese economy grows, and it grows at a rate that's extraordinary, and no one's even quite sure that that's the real figure, the more of that population are going to have more disposable income. And the great advantage that we've got is that they do look for safety and integrity, particularly in food, and we've got great records in that regard. So a small example, the aquaculture industry has got huge potential in New Zealand. I'm convinced of that, and we're making changes to the aquaculture legislation to facilitate that orderly growth in an environmentally considerate way. But for a number of years, they've been selling into markets where the price hasn't changed. It's been relatively low. At the moment, a group of them have got together. They've taken on the China market, and they've gone in at the right level. They've pitched the product appropriately, and they're getting about 3 times the price that they have been getting in other markets. And that's sort of counter to what you expect in China. So I think that's where we need to concentrate our efforts. I think the other thing is, as a food producer, we've got to get over the idea that we're going to turn 1.3 billion Chinese into lovers of European cuisine, which we essentially produce. So it's going to be about getting our primary product used by that country in a way that suits their particular palates. So there's a lot of subtleties in all this. And we're putting a lot of effort in. We've got 6 trade missions going to China this year. I've been on one already. That was around aviation. New Zealand's quite a significant, has significant opportunities in aviation. We've got some of the clearest airspace in the world. So when you've got airlines growing as they are in China, the need for pilot training is just one small example of what we might be able to offer without committing ourselves or changing ourselves in too drastic a way.
Just finally, you've been at the pointy end of how democracy works in New Zealand in the last few months. Are New Zealanders aware enough of the economic challenges and willing to take tough action to actually make a difference? And are you worried about that as a government, that maybe we can't push ahead fast enough because of the political system we have?
I think every political system in the world that's democratic has its difficulties. You've only got to look at the promises that Barack Obama sort of took into his presidency and the way in which that's being dismantled at the present time to know that. Our way of operating has been to just gently move the populace in a particular direction, showing good reason for that particular course of action. In 20 months, I think we've been able to achieve a reasonable amount. If we can do that for a sustained period of years, I hate using that word sustainable, it's massively overused, then I think we would start to see some good results. I mean, there's some very good signs out there. Yesterday's unemployment figures were disappointing. No government can be happy with that. That's people's lives directly affected. But we've had 4 quarters of tiny growth, and given what the base we're working off, I think that's very, very encouraging.
Because the migration to Australia has started again in the last few months, and the wage gap between Australia and New Zealand is growing again. It's out to close to $35,000 a year, the wage gap.
Well, look, we've had this massive argument going on in the House, completely unproductive for the last 2 weeks, about how big the wage gap was or is. And look, there's any number of ways you can measure it. What we certainly say is that, yes, there is a wage gap, and we do need to try and do something about it. But I think we've got to stop this idea that you can search around and find a silver bullet that will change it for us. We've done analysis across all of 18 sectors of the New Zealand economy, largely with the intent of saying, what does the government either have to stop doing to get out of the road of these industries progressing, or do to assist them to progress? And I think there was 2 important moves in the 2010 budget that support the sort of cross-cutting view that we've got of all of those sectors' opportunities. One was, of course, tax, lowering personal taxes and also company rate from 2012. But then the big commitment to science and innovation and the Dr. Wayne Mapp's reorganisation of Morst and Forst. Very, very significant in my opinion. Taking it away from the, just using the blunt tax instrument for research and development, encouragement, to actually saying, look, we'll put money in it if you do, and it looks like it's a goer.
Gerry Brownlee, thank you very much for coming along to our Double Shot interview. Hope you enjoyed the coffee.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
I'm Bernard Hickey for interest.co.nz. That was another in our Double Shot series of interviews.